Everybody, happy Saturday, and I hope you are having an amazing weekend so far. And I hope all of you are staying cool wherever it is you're at, because where I'm at, it's extremely hot. It's like we're in the triple digits. But I can't thank you enough for tuning in. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another amazing episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I am just ecstatically crazy about. You know the drill. As I always say, make sure you jump on over and join the Facebook group community. Get plugged in, facebook.com/groups/The Color of Motion. Come be a part of the family, because we are growing and we definitely always love new additions to the family. So we definitely don't want you to miss out. Sharing great industry news, having some fun conversations, and just having all around fun. So make sure you hop on over there, get plugged in, and join us. Want to give a big shout out to our sponsor for today's show. Want to give a big shout out to Restream. Get this up. Restream. If you are a live streamer and stream out to multiple platforms, they are definitely a great platform and program to use. We use them to stream out to all our social channels when we're doing the show, and definitely they can help expand your reach as well. So thank you to Restream for being a big sponsor of the show. And again, definitely make sure you hop on over there, check them out, and try them out. The show, the link for them will be in the show notes. So make sure that you, after the show, check out the show notes and go check them out for sure. So thank you again to Restream for always being part of The Color of Motion. Also, I always like to say, you can connect with me on all my social channels right here. I definitely want to hear from you. Let me know how the show is going, what you think of the show, any guests you may want me to try and get on. I'm always working to get great guests on the show, and as you know, so far I'm doing pretty good getting some great guests, and I know you like today's guest as well. So make sure you connect with me and follow me on all my channels there as well. Also, hey, the store is open. You can hop on over to the shop, pick you up some Color of Motion swag. My goal is to see as many people as possible with some Color of Motion swag. We got some nice hoodies, shirts, mugs, constantly putting new things up on the store. So make sure you grab you some swag over at thecolorofmotion.net/swag. My only request is, if you pick you up something, shoot a picture of yourself, send it on over to me so we can share it on the show, share it on all the channels, and, make you a superstar that you are. So definitely want to see you in some Color of Motion gear for sure. Like I said, been looking forward to this episode for a while, connected with my next guest earlier. I think it was earlier this year. Might have been like late last year. But been following her for a little bit, and looking forward to sitting down and having a fun conversation. Want to make sure that I'm getting everything in on the housekeeping. Oh, also, like I said, we're here every week, 3 p.m. Central Time, every Saturday, live on the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, the Facebook group, and the website for this show. You can check us out live there. But I always highly recommend to people to get plugged into the YouTube channel. Going over there, subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up, comment. And there you can check out all the other past great guests that we've had on the show. Yeah. Come on over to the YouTube channel and again, be a part of the family for sure. So, without further ado, like I said, I am so looking forward to this, and I think we can, I guess pretty much get this train on the tracks and this show on the road. Yes. We are back and ready to get this party started. I hope you are as excited as I am. Like I said, I've been looking forward to my next guest. She has such a fun personality. I know you're going to love this, and we're going to have some fun. My next guest is originally from Chicago, Illinois, but is now based in L.A., where she is a voice actor and is on the writing team at Netflix Animation. You can hear her in video games such as Genshin Impact and SMITE, and a handful of other fun projects coming down the line. She also does theater in LA. She's an actress. She has worked with Wallis Annenberg Performing Arts Center, Wallis Studio Ensemble, Independent Shakespeare Company, and Cornerstone Theater Company. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Miss Kendell Byrd. Kendell.
Hey.
I've been so looking forward to this. Ever since we first talked, I said, she's just got a bubbly personality and such a fun spirit. Definitely had to have you on the show.
Oh my gosh.
So
Thanks for
looking
having
forward
me.
to it.
And let me say the intro and all that, so impressive, so good. I also will be buying a shirt off the swag shop after
you
this.
don't even have to buy because we give all our guests swag items. So
whoa, okay.
You definitely
Very
don't have to
cool.
buy anything because
Oh
we're
my
sending
goodness.
you a swag item. So definitely, and we're going to talk about that after the show.
Please,
But I'm so, like I said, so been looking forward to sitting down. I'm always fascinated. Like I said, I love this industry, but I don't think a lot of people take into account or they take for granted just the voice work that's done in animations and games, and that it's a big industry. So I'm always curious, and even for you, what is it about voiceover work that you love? And we're going to dive in because you got a pretty, broad range of skills that you do and what you've been doing. But what is it about voiceover work and specifically voiceover for animation that you love doing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Always growing up, ever since I was little, I've had this passion for storytelling, entertainment, and as well as animation. My favorite show growing up, and still to this day, is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I saw that when I was like 10 years old. It came out in 2005 for me, and I was like, this is the best show on earth, and have now rewatched it 100 times. And it was just seeing what Avatar did for me, and to be able to tell stories to a broad community and to kids now who are up and coming, especially kids of color and queer
Yeah,
folks. I'm like, this would be so cool. And I first didn't start off again. I started off in theater when I came out here to LA, and in the animation industry, working in production and writing. And when I came over here, I was like, I really want to, after college, storytell and be creative in this industry, and switched over to animation.
yeah,
And it first started with writing, and then I was like, wait, I also love acting. And again, some of my favorite things growing up was watching Avatar and anime and all of these animation shows, and seeing the
yeah,
performances that moved and touched me as a kid, just growing up, and still to this day. Because again, hashtag animation is for everyone. There's so many different shows out there for everyone of all
yeah,
ages. So
yeah,
to be able to kind of now put my voice into these characters, as well as now we're in an age of authentic and representative casting too. So to be
yeah,
able to play characters that are like me and also unlike me, because it's VO, I can play like a truck or a
yeah,
kitchen knife and all that. It's just so much fun every day hopping into the booth and being able to kind of make my own worlds with these characters,
yeah,
these stories.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sure, and it's interesting, like you said, that you initially came out to LA, to do acting, and to be in theater and be an actress. Obviously, in which, if I guess if people have watched like kind of some of the behind the scenes on some movies and stuff like that, they see actors in the sound booth really acting out, the
Yeah.
scene. It's not just them coming in there, coming up with a voice and then just speaking the lines. It's them actually acting out the movie,
Yeah.
which makes it so much more authentic. Do you feel like that's really helped you in your voiceover work, coming from kind of a theater?
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, and most people will say right when you're getting in to voiceover, is that voice acting is acting at the end of the day. So being able to I came out here and did lots of Shakespeare theater with the Independent Shakespeare Company and the Wallis Annenberg Performing Arts Center. I actually just did a show of 12th Night there a few months ago. So to have that base in classical and contemporary text and theater really helped me transition into VO, I think, more seamlessly and more efficiently. But because it's acting at the end of the day is what the base is for
Yeah,
VO.
yeah, yeah. And it wasn't in your bio, but I know that you initially started and I think went to school for STEM and
Yes.
technology. So that's
Yeah.
kind of your initial start. I mean, what is it about? And we'll get into why you kind of, like you said, you've always been in theater, so you always
Yeah.
still had that kind of creative space. But what was it about STEM and technology that kind of sparked your interest and kind of early passion for that?
Yeah, just in STEM. I mean, yeah, growing up too, I was always kind of a STEM and mathematics girl. And that was really because of also like my dad. We would be at like age 5, 6 doing science fairs and going to our local science fairs in Chicago. So STEM is always something that I love, and was the kind of like my first base too. I would be doing theater and performing, and then also doing STEM too. And when something that I really like is kind of being this uh, multidisciplinarian, because uh, when I was even studying computer science in school, there's so kind of like a mindset that, oh, if you're doing tech and engineering, this is all that you're doing, you're on the STEM mindset. But I went to a liberal arts school that showed you all the ways, of course, that tech and computer science interacted and interweaved with all the disciplines. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I was over here at school doing theater projects where we are using like a computer algorithm for some projections and cool effects on theater. So I always am figuring out ways of like, how do I combine all of my love and passions? And I actually, senior year, took a computer animation course, which was very computer science, math, and STEM
Yeah.
based. Because I'm like, and I love animation, and I was able to like literally make a little cartoon character move and provide a voice for it while also coding and making it move. So it was like, again, being able to combine all the things I love.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
and STEM is what brought me out here. My first job was a engineering job out here in LA, but I knew I wanted to come out here to explore that entertainment industry and storytelling too. But wouldn't
Yeah.
be out here if it wasn't for my STEM job taking me out here. So
Well, I don't know why, and I guess, and obviously, I'm pretty sure people could pick up on it, but it seems like you were a very outgoing, energetic child growing up, and had a lot of energy and just a lot of different interests that you were getting off into. Was that how you were as a
oh
kid?
yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely you go through, of course, your like middle school and prepubescent era when I was like, who am I? And like figuring out just who myself is and my confidence and
Yeah,
vibe, swag. It wasn't, I feel like, until like high school, and then I was able to go to a STEM based high school where everyone was kind of a nerd and
yeah,
like just really accepting. My other schools were very accepting and awesome too, but it wasn't until high school where I figured out, and transitioning to boarding school, where I was like, this is who I am, and like I'm unapologetically me, and don't be afraid of kind of your image and your vibe you put out there. And so, but definitely, of course, when you're growing up, you already know it's like, who am I? And I'm like an
yeah,
12 year
yeah.
old. I was definitely awkward and nerdy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like I said, which like you said, we're always like that at that age. But you always pick out those one kids that, like I said, are just energetic. They're more
Yeah.
energetic than others, and they've got just maybe don't have a problem talking with people or doing that. Did you do any theater in like high school or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did actually kind of less, and that's what spurred me because I was really focused on STEM in high school and sports. I did like soccer and
Oh,
basketball,
okay.
soccer all growing up. So when I was at my boarding tech school, I like kind of dropped theater. So I knew when I entered college, I was like, when people asked me at my graduation party of high school of what I want to do in college, I was like, improv, sketch, all the theater things, um, and all of that stuff. But no, I would say like my favorite class, hilariously, at my STEM school was this class called Modern Theater, where every week we would be reading contemporary plays and things like that, and doing improv exercises. So I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I should look into this theater more. But did like musicals and all the classic things in like elementary and junior high, and then kind of really returned back to it in college.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had, that kind of vibe to get into theater when I was in college.
Yeah,
I was more in art classes. So I was in kind of, like I said, all the art classes. But it
heck
would have been
yeah,
nice to take theater because I think theater gives you this ability to be comfortable in front of people,
for sure.
acting and like I said, kind of being yourself. Um, Obviously your parents really kind of fed into your passions, whatever they may be. How important were they in kind of getting you started on your journey?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I was saying earlier, my dad was the one. He was an engineer major and really in college, and is still doing like engineering and finance now today. And he really invigorated my love of STEM and engineering, mathematics, and technology at an early age. And then my mom took me at like 6 years old to sign up for the local production of Annie, and that was like my first like musical theater thing I was in. And she just like she's like, we're gonna go audition, and it was like the best experience too. So she was always the art side, and my dad was the STEM side. So it was really cool to kind of delve in both my left and my right brain. I've always been a person who, yeah, loves reaching out and learning about other people's experiences, which my parents taught me too, of just the acceptance of others and all of that.
Yeah.
And as well as just sticking my hands, I guess, in all different areas and looking for ways to combine those areas too. And yeah, my parents would always be like, there's always multiple ways to approach and do things. There's never one set trek
Yeah.
and like even like path for career. Everyone has their own thing and doing their own thing, and just to always, stay true to myself and
Yeah.
focus on me is kind of the big pieces of advice, and to act like it's impossible to fail is one of my favorite quotes and stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that's great, because you know not all parents, not that parents have, you know, uh, obviously they have your best interest at heart, but there's a lot of parents, especially when you tell them, I want to be an animator or I want to be an artist. They're thinking practical because they don't know.
But let's talk about that too, because my parents were very like awesome and supportive, and still very much am. But definitely in college, when I always knew I was going to study computer science and possibly some economics too. But I loved all the theater courses so much, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, what if I also major or do a computer science theater?" And he was like, "Can you not do that?" And which is fine. He was very practical of like, let me not spend he was like, please take all the theater courses you want, but if you could not like fully major in theater, we love the STEM. Again, big fan of STEM. Even when I was coming out of school and transitioned from my software engineering job to my first production job in animation working for DreamWorks, uh, that transitionary period, was a few months between those jobs when I was like switching.
Yeah.
And my parents were still very supportive. My dad was like during those times, so like, you sure you want to leave? You sure you
You
want to
should.
leave tech to go work in production and writing and animation? Like, remember that nice tech comfy life?
Yeah.
I had
You
no idea
got
I wanted to.
benefits and all of
Yeah,
that kind
exactly.
of
Benefit.
stuff.
And I was like, nah, I do want to do this. And then he was like, and then like a week later, be like, okay, you sure though? And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, I'm positive. And then they were very excited about DreamWorks and Netflix and all
Yeah,
that.
that's when
So
they changed their mind. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's what
Okay.
they're like. Cool. Yeah, my dad thought I was gonna be in like Joe's trailer, like Joe Schmo's trailer, which would have been fine too. Like just being like, let me know, like bringing him lunch and dinner. But then when I said no, it's DreamWorks and animation, he's like, oh, cool. Okay, he's like, cool. We cool with that. We cool with that. And now for VO, let me tell you, like they were like the most supportive when I signed with my first agent last year when I was really getting started. I went to a wedding that same weekend with my family and met them in Florida. And my dad's like, let's go buy you a new mic and all that. It paid for my current VO mic. And like, they were really excited about the VO. Like, they really think the VO is
Oh
cool.
man.
And they're
That is
good.
so funny. Yeah, that's when they quickly change their tune and say, okay, well,
Yeah,
yeah, we've been behind you and stuff.
yeah,
Um
they were like, agent, this is serious, you know?
yeah, yeah. Oh, you an agent, okay.
Yeah, they were like, okay, we listened though.
Uh, but I'm glad you brought this up because it's interesting because I was on a networking call the other day. It was more a business networking call, but they were talking about storytelling,
Oh, sure.
in the process of storytelling, and the speaker was saying one thing that really helped him when getting up and presenting, doing a presentation, and engaging people with story was taking an improv class.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm wondering, what was it that you pulled that was that really helped you when you took improv? Because I thought about it too. As far as I think that's a really good thing, if you're wanting to kind of be, an engaging person, tell stories, be able to kind of shift and move, kind of quickly.
Mhm.
Doing improv really helps you with that. What was it that you kind of that took away from it that it really helped you?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with your sentiment. I think improv is useful and helpful for anyone, and in any of these fields. One of my first improv classes I took in Chicago, There were people who were dentists, and there's a lawyer in there, and I mean, lawyers. I could see it being very helpful, and
Yeah.
people from all over who were just like just wanted to kind of either get out of their shell, improve public speaking, just get more out there, or people who are actors who are
Yeah.
using it for acting. I think one of the biggest things that improv taught me is just learning how to create worlds on the fly. And it's kind of what sometimes you in the VO booth you have to do improv a handful of times, or when you're in the VO booth lots of the times, like especially for video game records and all that, you go in without the script. Like for
Oh yeah.
animation, yeah, for animation they'll give you the script in
Script.
advance
Yeah.
prep. Video games, you go in and then they'll give you the script right when you go in, or it's like, here's your lines, or they'll have your lines on the slide.
Yeah.
You like right away have to put yourself in the world and think on the fly of like, what is this line saying? I've not seen this line before, and now I am having to act out this
Yeah.
line.
That's
This
really
prompt.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is really interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then if you can easily, when you're like even auditioning, being able to like get a script or a side and be able to like create a voice or a character. And lots of times for animation, like for Disney and Nickelodeon and these scripts, they do like sometimes when actors you do want to stick to the script at least for a take, but they do like when actors put their own
Yeah.
pizzazz on it or add like a word or two, like some pre-life, post-life is what
Oh
voice actors
yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
know they when they were talking about Robin Williams when he did the genie from
yeah.
Aladdin,
Yeah.
that's pretty much all improv.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's lots of improv. There's an actor in Legend of Korra too, which is the Avatar spinoff, and it was PJ Byrne or Brian, but he was very big in the booth at Nickelodeon. Of we're improvising all these, like he would get the line and then always embellish more off of it with his own. So
Yeah.
lots you'll see lots of folks do that.
Man. And I think you get a much better, like I said, much more natural, much better. Usually, like I said, when they put their own spin on it, an actor, a voiceover actor puts their own kind of spin on it. It just gives life to words that are just normally just on the paper, you know?
Yes, yes, 100%. And let me add too, in a writer's room perspective too, lots of the writers that we have in our room or have had throughout the years at Netflix on the show that I work on, a handful of them have been comedy and improv people. Like when you're pitching ideas and trying to make up a show, and most of
Oh
these
yeah,
there's
yeah,
really to think on the fly, punch up for jokes. Lots of it comes from people who are coming in who have done stand up or improv too. And there's
yeah,
lots of diverse voices in these rooms, but it's definitely very helpful to have an improv background too, a little bit in these rooms at times for writing.
yeah, yeah. And we're gonna get into how you kind of slid into writing as well. But what can you give us like one technique that they taught you in improv that I've never
Ooh,
taken an improv class, so I don't know the techniques and things that they would say to try. Can you think of just like one technique that they presented that you kind of still use maybe?
dang. I don't want to say the like classic one of like just yes and, but I just think it's a great like yes and is like always like the first thing they teach you in improv, of course, is the, this quote yes and, which is never if someone presents something to you in the scene like happy 15th birthday or here's your eel from the store that I brought you, they're giving you and adding to this world that you all are creating and working on together. It's always a collaborative process. Most industries in most aspects of art and all of that, and so kind of being able to accept what people are giving you though. I still love the use of yes and of like when you're presented with a line or an actor or a director or anyone is giving you something to be able to process that and then add to that too.
Yeah,
Don't reject it and be like, oh no, this is not my eel, or no, this is I don't think this is how the character. To always just be open and all of that stuff, and also never being afraid to put yourself out there. Again, my favorite quote is act like it's impossible to fail. So hop in when we used to have like improv classes, like these improv circles where one or two people you go in and just like start a scene and then you can tag people in and out and all of that, and to just never be afraid to put yourself out there, and if you fall on your face, it's fine. It's always a fantastic learning opportunity.
Yeah,
But the worst thing that can happen is you mess up for a second. But the best thing is you create something amazing. So
yeah. That's why I love watching like the behind the scenes and all the extra stuff that they do, because you'll see like outtakes and stuff like
yeah,
that where, like you said, actors are kind of riffing off of each other, or an actor will say something that you're thinking in your head that's not in the script, and you
yeah, right,
gotta
right, right.
really quickly, while still in character,
Yep.
respond to it. Which I always thought is a fascinating thing, and would probably be hard for me because I'd be like, is he supposed to say that? Or
Yeah, I do feel you when you get caught off guard when it's like, I mean, that happens in live theater all the time too, or in like live theater, people sometimes add a line. I've forgotten, like, I've like dropped a line before. Well, it happens when you're on stage. You have so many too. Like, sometimes it's like purposefully added and it's great and you add, and then sometimes you have to like think on your feet and be like, this line is now was said differently, so now I have to maneuver the scene in another way, which is always fun too. I do. I mean, it's nothing like live theater as
yeah,
well.
yeah. It would like live TV. You just kind of roll
Live
with it
theater.
and kind
Yeah,
of go with it.
yeah.
But how did you kind of transition into writing? I mean, have you always done kind of writing and like you said, specifically for animation? But how did you
Yeah.
get into the writing aspect and what you're doing now with Netflix?
Yeah, no, for sure. I in college I also did a handful of sketch comedy, which was kind of my like intro to writing. Every week we would meet up for like 4 or 5 hours a week to write and compose these sketches and do shows constantly around campus and on campus. And that was kind of my intro of even comedy writing. And then also I'm a big fan of just like working with friends and making projects even outside of the
Yeah.
work and life that we do. If I was like in like 10, 20 years, like, what's your dream thing? I mean, it would be definitely doing now VO and VO directing with writing, as well as I'm like, I would love to like own a theater company with friends and just like make cool art and dope art and stuff. That's like just really fun to do and create things with friends. But yeah, so I did writing and like would write a handful of things and sketches and little screenplays in college. And then yeah, and then when I went to BuzzFeed, lots of BuzzFeed content is like very much improvised and non-scripted over there.
Yeah.
So it's only doing things just on the side on like my free time. And then it was me coming to DreamWorks and kind of figuring out, because I didn't know really anything about animation until I entered DreamWorks. Like the first day at DreamWorks, they were like, "Here's an animatic," and I was like, "An Anna what?" And all that. Like, I went from, and I always give so much love to my very first production team at Fast and Furious Spy Racers at DreamWorks, who really literally taught
Oh
me like
man.
crash
Well,
course of
I have
animation
to
and
ask
making this
you.
show.
I have to ask you without glossing over this, because, like you
Yeah.
said, you go into a company like DreamWorks, and like you said, it's kind of your first foray. So, I mean, when you applied for it, what was the position a writing position, and then two, how did
Yeah.
you? I mean, I guess you can kind of, like I said, fake it till you make it, or not fake
Yeah.
it till
That's
you make it, but you know what I mean. As far as
right.
most
Yeah.
people aren't going to apply for a job, especially a job at like a high level. Being a writer, especially for a big studio like DreamWorks and the projects that they do is not a light thing to go into. But
Right.
how did you kind of, go into it and approach it, you know, from initially when that wasn't something that you had done a lot before?
1,000%, and it definitely was not. I started very much so at the bottom. Definitely, Netflix has been my first writing job. So I came into DreamWorks as a PA and all of that. And but how I did it was, so I got really lucky, and this again ties into like never being afraid to put yourself out there. So when I was still like at BuzzFeed or finishing my time at BuzzFeed, I went on LinkedIn, just how we connected. That's what, like,
Yeah.
I love a good LinkedIn LinkedIn connection. I went on LinkedIn and I was like, I really want to work in animation, and just started looking up people at DreamWorks and like Nickelodeon. And DreamWorks was the first one I looked up. And the first person I messaged, he was a, I think, PA, but about to get promoted to a production coordinator at the time. We had one mutual friend, but like it was like the mutual friend was the guy I studied abroad with, and it was like I hadn't talked to him in like 3-4 years, so I didn't even bring up the mutual connection. I
Yeah.
just blind messaged this amazing guy named Richard and was like, hey, my name's Kendall. Told him like I'm at BuzzFeed doing tech and entertainment, but I really want to switch to animation because it was always been like my favorite like just medium and all of that to consume. And so he replied back like pretty quickly, and instead of just like typing out like here's my experience at DreamWorks, thanks for talking, he was like, hey Kendall, do you want to actually come up to campus and I'll give you a tour and we can have lunch and like chat? And I was like, yeah, oh my gosh,
Wow.
sure. And so
Wow.
it was like literally the nicest person, and we chatted and talked for an hour, and then after he's like, I can totally refer you too. And this was like October, November of 2018. And I was like, heck yeah, that would be amazing. So passed him my resume and all of that. But it wasn't until, because DreamWorks takes a second to process things, I think he bumped me again in February, March of 2019. And then DreamWorks called me like 20 at random week in March, and they were like, hey Kendall, we saw your resume and we need a PA filling, and it was a temp job too. So they're like, we need a PA filling for like 3 months on the show. Can you start next week? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh sure. Oh my gosh. And they're like, we got your resume from Richard, and we love Richard, and so we just want to know if you want to start. And it's a temp thing. And I was like, that's in my head. I'm like, that's fine. We will go in there, hustle, grind, and try to hopefully make something of it to be able to be full time officially at the end of it. And so I
Yeah.
started on
Yeah.
serious
But
aspiring.
you didn't, but did you know what a PA even did within animation? And
Not
two,
fully. Truly, I thought I had some kind of idea, and I really like working in a PA for animation. I did like in that transitionary period. I did like I was an assistant for like a commercial live action shoot, and that was like printing out paperwork, running and getting food. That's like classic live action PA work. But for animation, that's why I also gravitated towards it, because it's more technical. Like you're working with animation artists and also storyboard artists, and then effects. In the team I was on the back end of animation. So my first team I was on was animation, comp, effects, so very technical aspects of animation. And I came from a tech background, so I was like,
yeah,
this is perfect and way more up my alley. It was still like definitely being that support for those teams. So especially as a PA, just taking notes and going to the meetings and tracking like animation shots coming in and effect shots and all that. But it was cool. I'm like, I'd rather be doing this. It was like a nice 9 to 6 job. And I came in, and after 2.5 months, DreamWorks does an amazing job at finding a place for you, especially when you're rolling off of projects and all of
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And before my roll off date of my first project, they already found me. I interviewed for a few teams internally, and then got an official full time offer on
yeah,
another show, and then did that show for a few months. And then I went on and became a production coordinator on Jurassic World Camp
wow.
Cretaceous.
Oh,
And
I
that's,
love that. I love that show.
oh,
I
yes, that's
loved
my,
that show.
oh,
I love
yes,
that
yes,
animation on Netflix, for sure.
yes, Jurassic.
I
It's so
loved
good.
it. Yes, yes.
Yeah, Fast and Furious, Dragons Rescue Riders, and Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous were on my DreamWorks shows. And Jurassic, I was on for the longest, and yeah, and I was the animation like core. Like it was just I ran the whole animation
Wow,
department.
wow.
With
Now
and
I
working
have to unpack it. I want to stay here for a second because I kind of have, at least for me, I kind of want to unpack this on just the fact that you didn't let that stop you from applying. I mean, you felt like you had some skills that kind of fit within, the
yeah,
PA space, but you had
yeah,
never really worked in animation or
yeah.
that thing, that space to that point. I mean, do you feel like it was just like you said, your personality of you can't be afraid to put yourself out there that that you know made you go ahead and apply anyway,
Yeah, it definitely
or
was.
reach out to that person anyway.
Yeah. Because when I was reaching out to him on LinkedIn, I'm like, the worst he could do is not answer or say no or I don't want to talk to you. Which
Yeah,
usually is not the latter is not really unlikely. Usually you'll just get a not answer if
yeah,
anything. So I'm like, the worst he can do is say no. It's not going to be like, oh, that horrible person reached out to me. So I always encourage folks to reach out, and when folks reach out to me too, I'm like, heck yeah, what can I do? Because Richard was so nice to me back in the day. But yeah, when you come into like these studios, DreamWorks, Nickelodeon, Disney, they are very open to. They know the PA is like kind of your very first like kind of introduction. There was a handful of people who I was PA with who studied animation in college, and all of that is also still very helpful because you at least come in knowing more of the terms and
yeah,
tricks and all, but they know it's like an entry level and they're teaching you the ropes to then later on get promoted and go up the production line. But then it was me through that realizing, cool, I'm happy I'm doing production, but I did transition to entertainment or to animation to do more creative work. And I saw that the path of at like a DreamWorks, which was fantastic, was going like PA, production coordinator, supervisor, manager, and then like line producer, is more on the production, finance, and tracking route. And I wanted to be creative, and I can't draw, so I was like, the ways to be creative. Shout out to you, all you Don, doing all the art and all that. So for me, the
uh,
ways to be creative were writing, and that's how I transitioned to Netflix,
yeah,
and then when I got to Netflix, I was like, wait a minute, I love acting and all that, and a VO is like literally being able to act for animation.
yeah,
That two of the two are like two of the few passions that I have, or two of the many passions that I have. So I was like, let's get into it and all that. And DreamWorks friends and colleagues who moved from DreamWorks to Netflix before me are the ones that hit me up again and were
uh,
like, "Hey, we're gonna open a writers' room, and we know you want to do more creative stuff. Do you want to come over as like a script coordinator and then junior writer and on this writing team over here?"
yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, "BET bet, let's do it." So they really hooked that up, and I'm eternally grateful for them for bringing me over,
Oh
and
man.
love my time at DreamWorks
That
too.
is amazing. Again, everybody just jumping in. We're having an amazing conversation with my friend Kendall here. And I hope you all picked up on what she just said because it's very important. The industry is a very, even though it's a large industry, it's very small and people know each other. And that's
Yeah,
how they get referred around. And building relationships with people is really what gets you, moving around within the industry and being able to have these opportunities to do the things that, oh, that's not my camera. Uh, have the opportunities to do, get off into doing other things that you would like to do. Now, when you um, moved into voiceover work, was there a specific like job posting that said, oh, okay, we're needing a voiceover? They were looking for a voiceover for a project, or
mm,
were you just building a relationship, letting people know, within the company, I like to. I'm an actor. I like to do some voiceover stuff. Which was it for you? Were you just kind of planting those seeds to the people that you were working with that you?
yeah. No, 100%. I'd say a combination of both of the things you just mentioned. Number one, I definitely recommend people who want to get into VO to take classes. There's so many amazing classes, workshops, and resources out there to get your start into VO. Message me on LinkedIn or anytime,
Yeah, and
and
we're
I'll
going to put
send
some in the
you a
show
list.
notes as well too. We're going to get some
Cool.
of those links and put them in the show notes for those ones that are
Yeah.
wanting to get into VA work. But
Yes. So yeah, it was at first I took a class at this group called Adventures in Voice Acting. I think they're now known as the Voice Acting Academy of the Arts or the vocal. I'll link it and stuff, but I took a class and loved it. Was character acting, character voice acting 101, and loved the teacher. And later on saw that she does private coaching and personal coaching. So when I got over to Netflix, I started doing kind of on the side personal and private coaching to start developing a voiceover demo or reel, and just to train more in VO, just one-on-one too, to figure out just my voice, the characters I can do, and all that jazz. And during that time, like you were saying, I was uh, a teeny bit searching online. There was this Facebook group called the People of the Global Majority VO list, which was for artists of color. So I joined that group, and they post casting calls occasionally there. And then at Netflix, our shows and many movies are always looking for scratch actors
Yeah.
and actors there. So I definitely started ingraining myself in the Netflix casting and VO scene over there, and now do a whole bunch of voices in scratch and some unannounced things and stuff for
Yeah,
different
yeah.
people.
I know you got
Different
some big things coming down the pipe for sure.
Actually, Rainbow High recently came out, which was MGA Entertainment TV show, animated show that's going to be on Netflix too. And I play a character Michelle in that. But no, when just starting off, it was training and also telling folks at work like, hey, I'm starting to get into VO, and I was really training to work up towards my reel, because in order to get an agent, agents are listening to your demo reel to see what
Mhm.
you can do to be able to sign you. So my goal at the time was, let me work hard on coaching and training and taking classes to be able to make a reel pretty like could sometimes people take years to make your reel, and lots of people give the advice of like, don't make a reel until you're ready to make a reel.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of was like a little speed running it, and like fall 2021 was like, I'm ready. Let's just make a reel and let's like start training and making a reel. And then I made my reel March 2022, and then signed the same week with an agent. And I was like, and I was just very fortunate with that. But it definitely takes for lots of folks, everyone has different journeys, time
Yeah.
and process and training and all that. So but yeah, once I made my reel and did my demos, that's when I kind of really started and signed with an agent and really started seeking out auditions and rosters. Because then I could be like, hey, I'm interested in joining your roster or auditioning. Here's my reel to show you what I can do. Because beforehand, lots of casting calls at first, or lots of people who are in the community are always like, doing an audition sometimes, send me your reel to be able to be added to a roster, to get an
Yeah.
audition, or to there are lots of great resources online, though, on Twitter and other sites where you can just start auditioning, and that's what lots of folks do. And I got a job at doing audiobooks from the PGM voiceover list, and that's what was one of my first VO jobs, was doing audiobooks, and what got me SAG, because they
Yeah.
gave me a SAG contract to do children's audiobooks. So that's how I got started, really, before even getting an agent. So always look for other places to do projects in. And then once I got an agent, it was like auditions started just rolling in and
Coming in.
running. And
Wow.
so that was it. Pretty much.
That is amazing. And like I said, hopefully, younger kids are picking up on this, or just people that not even younger, but just people that wanted to get into the industry are picking up on. You have to just try different things and not be afraid to try different things, reaching out to people. Um, so your thought was to get an agent. So were you just like going online and seeing what voiceover agents were out there, or did you?
Yeah. There are some good resources that have like a list of different regional voiceover agents, and just talking to my coaches and some people I began meeting in the community, but just doing research too. And then I got lucky because I in February of 2022, um, I was able to connect with an agent at my current agency through LinkedIn. Again, another shout out to LinkedIn. And then also, I was doing a play festival theater wise in the winter 2022. And one of the directors of one of the many short plays I was in was repped at another amazing voiceover agency too. And she was like, once you finish your reel, let me refer you to my agency. And then the other agent I connected with was like, once you finish your reel, send it to me. So that same week, I was like a little antsy to get my reel finished, because I was like, I want to start going and stuff. And then right when I finished, I submitted to them, and then they were the same week, both like, we would love to have you. So it was very fortunate, and usually is a timely process. And I submitted to other agencies like cold call, because I found a list, and they're great resources of like database of all the
Yeah.
agencies submit to. So I submitted to a handful of other ones, and maybe heard back from one or two of them else. The other ones was radio, like radio silence, especially because I was so new. And sometimes it takes a while if you're cold calling. And
Yeah.
so, of course, as anything, having those referrals and connections were very helpful. And I just got super lucky in that when I was so early on in my career, having those kind of champions and people who believed in me and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Uh, well, I'm curious. Do you feel what traits do you feel make a good voiceover person? Because, like I said, I've had a few voiceover people on the show, and they you can tell they have a, like I said, very kind of fun, outgoing personality and very upbeat personality. What traits do you feel like are the best traits if you're looking to get into voiceover work and that type of stuff?
Yeah, I think number one, being nice is like a key one. Being nice, for me, I've heard folks who are like, especially directors and just other studios who are like, we rather work with. I mean, most voiceover actors and the people are very talented, but folks are like, we rather work with a nice person who might take a few more takes to hit a line
Yeah,
than like
yeah,
someone who's an asshole and comes in and can nail it on the first take, and all of that stuff. Just being nice, and people like working with people that
yeah.
are respectful and they like and who they can vibe with and all of that stuff. So just being nice and all of that, I think is key, and just being able to have fun and not take yourself too seriously when you're doing fun cartoons and all of that jazz. And then, of course, having that acting foundation is important, because voice acting is acting at the end of the day.
Right.
But I cannot stress is not being afraid to just put yourself out there, and yeah, just treating people with respect and love and being
Yeah.
nice, I think, is what takes you the furthest in any industry, and definitely
Yeah.
VO.
Any industry, I think that's the main thing, especially in, like I said, which I found in the animation industry and the creative industry. They don't care how good you are; they just want to know mostly, can you fit in with the climate of the of the company,
Yeah,
of the people that
yeah,
work there, or do you have that kind of personality that's just a person that you can get along with and have fun with, and like
yeah,
you said, are not an asshole to work with and just a pain to
exactly.
work with, because they don't care how
Yeah.
good you are with that. If you're a
If
butthole,
you're
you're not
me,
gonna.
yeah, if you're an asshole or like I'm better than you or anyone, that just like never goes far, I think, in general. Or for me, it doesn't. But no, I gravitate towards people who are kind and loving and all that jazz.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, for sure. And obviously, which I never thought about that. I always hated the way I sounded. But did you feel like you, you seem like you have a unique voice for animation, and
for
that's
sure.
what I've kind of picked up on some of the other voiceover people that I talk to. They have something about their voice that just kind of stands out and sticks out. I mean, you have, like I said, a very, bubbly, fun voice, and you can see, and we're going to show some of her work in a little bit here, but you can obviously see it come through on the characters. But do you feel like that really helped you too? That you had kind of a unique voice and a kind of a bubbly voice that really kind of read through the animation.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's interesting because I think you go through, especially as a young voice actor, or maybe even folks who have been voice acting for years. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. You still have like when you're like listening back to your auditions, or sometimes in the booth or during sessions, or playing back your voice, and you're like, I don't want to listen to my voice. Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, do I sound like that? Does this sound good? Like, you still go through that. I sometimes like play back auditions, and I'm like, is this fine? Is my voice too like? So even though I think it's been helpful in some areas and great,
Uh-huh.
I always still am a little not fully. Sometimes I'm like, this is great, and I love hearing myself here. And I've gotten much more used to it since the beginning. I remember when I was coaching,
Yeah.
and when I was doing coaching sessions, my coach would give me homework to bring in, aka do some characters before we met again. And then she would play those characters to listen to, and then we would give, and I'd be like, can you play it on mute? Or I would take off my headphones. I would literally take off my headphones when she was playing it and listening to it, and just being like, I cannot hear myself. And that's when I was first starting off. Now I'm like way more comfortable with it. But I feel like a handful of actors are like, you always get particular with your voice and all that. But definitely, I think though, in terms of like my voice, the field of animation is probably my strongest area and the area I have the most fun in. And
Yeah.
it has allowed me to be able to do lots of things, even in my first year in animation and even video games, that I would have never imagined I would be able to do when
Yeah.
starting off. And I pitch it up and down and do other things. And I've done a few projects over this past year that have done different accents too. I wouldn't have known before, but I'm like, accent work is also a big part of VO. So take a like an accent and dialect class or coaching too if you want to get in one of these.
Wow.
I think that those
Interesting.
are super helpful too. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's been cool, but definitely for animation, I think it's been the really really fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I agreed with them, but I had a few people say, "Oh, you got such a great voice. You should do some voiceover stuff." And I tell them, it's the mic.
No,
It's the
Don, your voice is great, and I can see you like one of the most lucrative fields is like commercial and promo. Like you got that nice commercial
Oh
promo.
my god.
I think that's like that's bank. That's where big
Oh
money is.
man. I may have to give that some thought though for sure.
For
Um
sure.
in and I guess I'm gonna ask you this in regards to one writing for animation, but also for voicing for animation. Obviously, you'll see when we show the reel, a lot of your animation, and I guess a lot of the animation that you write for, it seems like, is kind of for the younger, audience. Do you see yourself kind of expanding out into, I don't know, just more different types of animation, or do you see yourself kind of sticking within kind of the children's animation and kind of game, those kind of
Yeah,
fantasy game animation or video
yeah.
games?
I would like to do, I think, all areas, all aspects, even like we just talked about commercial promo, kind of what people will say to definitely make VO a full time thing.
Mm,
Uh, you kind of have to be able to do all the different areas. I mean, you have some folks who are like set for life, who are like animation titans, but
yeah,
for most folks to be able to dabble in all the different areas, which is cool because I like dabbling in many different things, has
yeah,
been, I think, the way of to really really I think be helpful and succeed doing it full time. But you also can like just be amazing at one area and then do that the rest of your life too. So
yeah.
both of those work. But yeah, like VO wise and writing wise, like I love older shows like Arcane. I
Okay,
used to have a reaction YouTube channel with my friends over pandemic, and we watched BoJack and Rick and Morty, some of our most favorite shows of like
yeah,
adult animation. So would love to voice act or write and do that. But again, favorite show is still to this day Avatar. So to be able to create, and I love the Owl House, and would love to be like on a project like an Owl House or an Amphibia or a Shira Avatar that touch so many, that like really connect to so many different people
yeah,
across the globe, and that have these serialized epic adventures and stories, and that are funny too. That would be really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But
it, and it's interesting that you said that, because and I've been kind of trying to get her on the show too. She's a voiceover, and I don't know if you've heard of her or come across her, but her name is Noveen Crumble.
yes, yes, I
She does a
promo
lot of different
and
promo
thing.
stuff, and
Yeah,
I really like watching. Just her, the different videos that she shares on, the
Yes,
awards. She does award shows and all
yes,
that kind of stuff.
awesome. Yeah. No, I
So
haven't met her yet, but I see her TikToks, and we have, I think, mutual connections, and she's so cool. Like,
yeah,
definitely tight.
and she's obviously making a very good living doing voiceover,
Yeah, 1,000%. So yeah, and
voiceover
killing
work.
it. Yeah,
Yes,
1,000%.
and killing it for sure. Um, what's to this point kind of been your biggest learning lesson through your journey so far?
Oh my gosh. Oh wow, wow, wow. That's a great question. Like so many things learned throughout my journey thus far. Um, dang, I don't. I feel like my biggest learning lesson thus far, especially in VO and writing and all of that, is the concept for me of just like patience. I think I'm a person who's very much so loves moving very quick, and of course
I
has a
wouldn't have
lot of
known that. I wouldn't have known that, Kendall. Just talking.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I'm so happy with how quickly I was able to jump into VO and jump into writing and all that. And it's been amazing thus far. But I know that lots of these industries, especially writing, animation, VO, is definitely a marathon and not a sprint. And sometimes I'm always like, let me go to the next thing and what's the next move? But kind of being present in the moment and just being
Mm,
happy with all that you've accomplished and all the people I've been able to connect with is something that should be celebrated and all of that. And your time is coming. Everyone has a different journey, and learning that too, I think, has been key.
yeah, yeah, and of course on that, always drop bombs on nuggets that my guests drop, and it's something that I always work on as well as patience and being
Yeah.
able to enjoy the moment that you're in, you know,
Hmm.
especially as a creative or if you're that type where your mind is just jumping from one thing to another. It's very hard sometimes to really enjoy the moment that you're in.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I agree with it. Agree with it
Okay, great.
100%. 100%.
I also
Um,
love special effects. That explosion was very cool.
uh, are you starting to see a lot more people of color getting into this space? Like we just mentioned, Noveen, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot more starting to come up. But are you starting to see a lot more um, uh, people of color stepping into characters, especially characters of color?
Yes, yeah. I think now that we, especially over the past few years, have been focused more, especially in the industry, on authentic
Yeah,
casting and having folks who can best step into these roles who relate to the characters, especially folks of color and queer folks, has been a great and instrumental and just like fantastic in terms of bringing more people in. And then there's so many titans and trailblazers that I even looked up to that I got, and I remember or that helped me even like start my path. Like I remember right when I was starting, I was watching and they don't know this, and some of them don't know me yet. And I've talked to some of them now, but I was watching an anime panel with like Zeno Robinson and Daenerys, and AJ, and just like really cool, like people of color and black folks in
yeah,
like anime and animation. And I'm like, that's so cool. And they've kind of inspired me as I've been coming up. And hope one day we get to all like do a project or something together. But especially too, when the pandemic hit, it really opened up our world to remote recording, and even people who are based in LA had to get a studio set up and record in their home. So now
yeah,
with accessibility of remote recording, it's also opened up VO to across the world, across the country. And that in itself brings more diverse talent and diversity to the field too. So that's been great as well. So
yeah.
that it's expanded.
Well, I mean, you were doing uh, you were doing voiceover work during the pandemic, right? Or did you
It was
start
kind of, yeah, I
after?
started like end of 2021, but then professionally got my kick like end of March 2022. So I kind of wasn't
in
at
effect.
all.
Okay,
But
because
I now,
I would wonder how you would do it, you know, with especially with animation voiceover, because an animator usually is looking at it, or a voiceover person is usually, they have some early animatics, I, I guess, that they're showing while you're doing the voiceover work.
mhm.
Maybe you can clarify that, how how that would be if you're working remote, and you know,
Yeah, yeah, for it depends on the medium, but for like animation or prelay is what they call it in the industry. Usually, and even at studios like DreamWorks and Netflix, we do this a lot too. We record the voices first, so the board artists are going off in these animated series and TV shows off what the voice artists are doing in their performance.
yeah,
Sometimes they'll board in a feature setting before they sometimes get all the voices, and then they'll have to adjust boards, or the director will kind of direct the actor towards where the boards are. But lots of times we're not showing the actor, even on our show, the recording of the boards. We usually are getting them in and then boarding off of their performance.
yeah,
But then for anime, that's dubbing, and that is
yeah,
they just like when you're in your own vocal booth, you have like a monitor in front of you, and then they're just playing, or you're playing the clip you're dubbing to, and they'll count you in usually with a three beep, or have a line of when you're supposed to start the line, and then you're just looking at a screen and dubbing, which you can do in your own home studio as well. And then video games are similar to animation sometimes, and anime. Sometimes you're localizing games and dubbing, but lots of the time you are doing the performance, and then the game animators are animating afterwards too.
yeah, yeah. Was it difficult for you, or was it relatively easy for you to kind of pick up on, one, the vernacular, and then the two, the things that are just like you were just mentioning, are just particular and specific to voiceover work? The counting and all of that on threes. Was that a difficult thing for you to kind of pick up, or?
No, yeah, it was kind of, it was not too hard for me to grasp, and I took some classes too that laid out this vernacular. And the more you practice and also get put into it, you can very much so pick up and learn on the fly too, which is great. So not too long at all. And it is definitely different skills for the different areas.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, again, everybody just jumping in. We've been having a fun conversation, and I always say it goes by so quickly. We're already over an hour or so. Like I said, I love having these conversations. So before we move on, let's take a quick look at Kendall's demo reel and check out some of her work here.
And strike on! It's time to light up the night! Make sure to leave a tag. That's the sick new tag I'm gonna drop when I take you down. Look, I've got things to do and places to be. The one who invited us to the gathering is a talkative woman. Including us, 3 couples showed up. There was also a person who came alone. The talkative day. Maybe my son will also partake in these gatherings in the future. I hope he'll be able to make many friends. Just a long, cruel dream. But I have to face reality. I still have someone to take care of. For Jungle Buff! Take this Jungle Buff! I'm returning to base! Set up an ambush here! Behind us! Chase the enemy! I'm Michelle St. Charles, and I like my designs like I like my technology. Always cutting edge.
I love
Yeah,
it.
that's awesome. Thanks for putting that together.
I love it. I love it. Like I
Yeah,
said, you do such amazing work for sure. I know it's got to be a fun experience. It's always a gratifying. I know it's got to be a gratifying thing, whether you're a voiceover person, an animator, or anybody on the team, when it comes out and you see it. You see
Yeah.
it done. You know,
No,
how's
100%.
how's the feeling for you when you see your work your voice finally, out in the world.
Yeah, no, it's so exciting. I think most voice actors will tell you too. Like, people are always so, like, for the most part, really excited for things to come out. We're always like, we have all these NDAs we sign and are like, just can't wait until we get to tell the world what we're up to and doing. So we're always like a little bit on eggshells of like, oh, something hopefully will come out soon and different things. I actually had a project that was going to come out like, and another project was going to come out in May that got pushed back, and I was like, no! But it's always just so fun being able to see your voice, and those are just a few of the projects that I've been able to work on in this past year, and so many more are coming out for the latter half of the year too that I'm really excited about. But it's just so cool, and sometimes my fam and parents are like, "Wait, you're doing that? And you're doing that character?" So it's cool. Also, even probably more fun to see the family and parents text me and react as well, and all of that.
Oh man, I know it's got to be such a gratifying thing to see for sure. That your family and friends just love hearing and seeing. Um, on your you obviously still, I mean, like you said, you're looking to do more VO work. Are you kind of transitioning away from acting and really kind of focusing on VO, or do you still want to do that as well? Like I said, you seem like you got, like I said, you're a multidisciplinary person. You like doing and having your hands in a lot of different things. Is acting, something that you're always going to want to do? I mean, as far as live action and theater.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, the last, like, acting is something I always am gonna do, whether it's VO or theater. And I already miss doing a lot of theater. Again, I think the last show I did do was like 5, 6 months ago now, and I'm like, dang, I already miss live theater. So I definitely want to continue doing more Shakespeare and theater around LA as I continue to even build and grow in VO. And then VO is currently one of the goals for long term. It is be on an audition for different animated shows and projects, and hopefully do them in the future. More in the future.
Nice, nice. Well, I definitely, like I said, know who to call when I'm ready to bring in some voice talent on some stuff that I really want to do. So I
Yeah, call me. Hit me up.
definitely love making relationships and that type of thing, for sure. Um, I want to ask this question because this was kind of, it has kind of been the big sticking point or a big thing about um, representation and having diverse people of color representing the characters that they're um, acting and playing.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a dual thing because as an actor, as a character person, that's the nature of the thing. You're creating a character that's not necessarily you. But do you feel like it should be people of color that are voicing characters of color and diversity, whether they're queer or whether they're
Yeah.
Chinese or whatever? Do you feel like obviously there's a authenticity that comes with it, but as an actor, that's what you do is you're pretending and you're being a character. So where do you
Mhm.
kind of fall when it comes to that, you know, representation and diversity?
No, yeah, excellent question. For authenticity and representation and diversity, yeah, I'm a strong proponent for, uh, as you were saying, like a 30 seconds ago or 20 seconds ago, but a very strong proponent of people of color, Black voice actors, for example, voicing Black roles, Hispanic voice actors voicing Hispanic roles, for queer roles, queer folks, trans folks, voicing queer and trans roles. I do believe those folks of different ethnic backgrounds and identities are the best folks, especially
Yes.
when you come from those lived experiences, to provide voices and life to those characters. But it is definitely a tricky debate and topic in this industry as we're still trying to figure out what diversity and authenticity really means. Because as a Black voice actor, and speaking for myself as a Black voice actor, as a queer voice actor, I don't only want to be like play
Yeah,
Black.
you don't want to get
We
pigeonholed
want to.
into.
I definitely want to expand. I know, like that's something that many folks of color, especially many folks of color and queer folks, strive for. It doesn't mean like queer people and Black folks you're only going to be able to read for and do the Black folks and queer roles. It's kind of uh, like saying groups of people and individuals who have kind of been historically unrepresented and historically not put to the forefront and not like shown in the past. And when we look at the history of media, giving them the opportunities to voice themselves, like the voice characters that they relate to and come from the same lived experience as, but then also giving them opportunities to like voice characters that are like open ethnicity and like have no no specific requirements too. So we're not just voicing only Black characters, we're voicing open ethnicity characters, we're voicing objects like I talked about in the very beginning, cars and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
So we shouldn't be. It's interesting because there shouldn't be a box fully, and lots of I think artists of color, especially starting off, sometimes have to fight to be able to get those open ethnicity auditions and things like that at times. And it's easy to be typecast and put into a box. And we also strive to not do that too. And also let us tussle in there with like all these open ethnicity roles and different things like that too.
yeah,
So in open orientation, if there is a role it's like open on the orientation, then the queer folks can come and do like straight roles and stuff. It's not like you only can do queer roles. Like
yeah,
it's definitely a balance. And then also authenticity and representation is also providing and finding those talents across the world and country. It's giving people the chance to audition. Sometimes it takes people years to be able to get like an anime audition or
yeah,
an audition here. So it's finding and reaching out to those communities as casting directors and as studios and finding non-binary folks, Black folks, Hispanic folks, trans folks, Asian folks, finding all those folks when you and letting them just audition and giving them the opportunities to enter the industry and put themselves out there too. And
yeah,
that's also casting authentically and expanding the net too.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Has there ever been a voice, or what's been the hardest voice that you've kind of had to find, or it took you a second to kind of find and kind of get into?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I think either I don't know. I had to like do this like 5-year-old for someone's project like literally this week. And again my like it's fine, I can do the high up and the hey and the and like even like different things like that, but like as you can see my voice is more like alto, and so
Yeah,
the like super high like kids, but I love the boy voices. I'm like, let's go and like let's do this. And like for the boys, I love getting in the boy voice because it's an easier timbre. Or probably I remember when I first took my first VO class at character voice acting, I had to do like 110-year-old like Southern gym coach, and I was like, she was like, oh, it was like old, and it was like yeah, and then but she was like with it too. But this had to really use the gravel and be like, like what are you doing? Like I don't know. It was like that stuff. But probably like the really high up, hi, what's up, really high pitch. Sometimes is getting into doing that. But I still love that. I love like the high pitch, and my favorite are like the teen
yeah.
funky
You seem like you. That's what I said. You seem like you have a voice that fits that really
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So amazing, amazing, amazing. Um, you said that which you kind of answered earlier, that you're kind of long, further down the road goal is doing more voiceover work. Having maybe working and collaborating with other creators on projects and things like that. Is
Yeah.
there what would be a kind of dream project to kind of work on for you? Or
Oh, yeah. Like again, anything over now that there's Avatar Studios, anything over at like the Avatar verse would be dream. And then yeah, any like cartoon that's like Owl House based, like Shira based, like with this cool kick ass protagonist and a great story. I just want to be able to like to be in a awesome like tale and story that really connect to lots of folks across the country and world. So anything like that, I'm pretty open. I just like whatever thing, something that's fun. It's as long as I'm having fun, it's all good with me.
awesome, awesome. I tell you, it's like I said, we've been having just the funnest conversation with my friend Kendall, for sure. Um, are you? Um, lost my train of thought there. Uh, what's what advice would you give a younger person, or you know, this young black girl that may be watching this or seeing this and never thought about voiceover, or
Yeah.
doing animation or even writing? What advice would you give to that young girl?
Yeah. I think again my biggest piece of advice is number one, there's no one specific track and path to do things. And you're able to have so many, if you have so many interests and don't know what to do with them, that's fine. That's great. Figure out, like, you have so much time to figure out things, and you're able to combine all of your interests and passions too, and figure out ways to do a little bit of all of them if you want to, or pick the one like area that you want to do, and again act like it's impossible to fail. The worst thing people can do is say no, but the best thing is your career and life can be changed. That's how I was able to work for DreamWorks and enter into this VO field, and now be where I am at Netflix. And I met my boyfriend, current boyfriend and partner at DreamWorks. So truly just life changing things of just putting myself on the line, and also just know there is no one way to do things, and combine all your interests to do all the
Awesome,
things
awesome.
you
Like I said, I gotta
want
drop another bomb on that, for sure. Uh, Again, everybody just jumping in. We've been having an amazing conversation with my friend Kendall. I definitely have had such a fun time talking with you, Kendall, and having you
to.
on the show. One last question before I do kind of let you go. Um, have you thought about how, or any way of combining your love of STEM with, um, in science, with animation and voiceover, and kind of
Yeah.
melding all your passions of what you enjoy doing?
Yeah. Actually, my partner and boyfriend, he's a head writer at DreamWorks right now. So we have actually in it, the two episodes are out right now on all the places you can do podcasts. But we made a science fiction like tech narrative podcast called Romulus 5, which is all space based, and it has like a story like kind of your Avatar sheer adventure, but then it's all tech and STEM, and it focuses on a black female lead that I play named Courtney, and she's an engineer, and her dad's an engineer. So it actually is even based off like our like life experiences too. But and we're always coming up with ideas, especially my boyfriend. His goal is to be like continue like be show running and EPing and creating and pitching shows. So most of
Yeah,
the shows we come up with when we're pitching things and talking to studios about shows too are very much so, because he comes from a STEM base too, are like
awesome.
STEM and technology based. So we'd love to do a show where I'm either writing slash producing, running on like show running on, as well as doing like a character or two
Oh
STEM based.
man,
That would be cool too.
And see, that's why I tell everybody, hey, you need to get plugged in to the Color of Motion because you can connect and build relationships with people that you just never know where they may, what opportunities may come from it. And definitely, Kendall, you're one of those ones that, you know, definitely going to stay connected with because I can see us doing some stuff together and
Yeah.
working on some stuff together and having fun for
Yes.
sure. Uh, and again, for everybody just jumping in, I am gonna make sure that a lot of the information that Kendall shared is in the show notes, so that you can check out and get some information. But make sure that you get connected with Kendall. Like I said, we got connected on LinkedIn. It's a great place to, and she got all, a lot of her leads and where she's at with connecting with people on LinkedIn. So definitely make sure that you connect with her. She's on LinkedIn. You can see her on Instagram, Twitter. Check out her website where you can see more of her work. She's got a lot of stuff that she's working on that obviously she's not able to talk about right now, but we will have her back on for sure to share all the stuff that she's got coming out in the future. But all of this information will be in the show notes. So make sure that you do connect with Kendall and reach out for sure. Kendall, like I said, I cannot thank you enough for one, connecting with me in the first place, and two, being my friend. Like I told you before, this goes beyond you being a guest on the show. It's about building a friendship that lasts.
Yes, yes. No, thank you, Don, for having me. This has been so much fun, and for real, you should do some commercial and promo, even animation.
I
We'll
may have
talk
to put me a
more.
demo reel together.
Yeah. Demo for real. Demo reels are fantastic.
Oh man, I don't know. I always hated the way I sound. I don't know why. I guess everybody does when they lit because they don't hear themselves. I guess when they're
Yeah,
talking, they're just talking.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
So I've always hated the way I sounded, but I don't know. I may try it.
No,
I may try.
again, I feel you. Like I said, when I like play back and hear myself, I'm like, no. But you get used to it in VO, and trust me, on this end, you sound great. I'm sure. Again, folks have already told you too. So for real, come have fun.
Oh man, I may have to try it there. Hey, I may have to give it a try there. But again, I thank you so much. This was such a fun episode, and like I said, you're part of the Color of Motion family now, so you're always welcome on the show. Because I do know you got a lot. You're gonna have a lot of things coming out, so I'm definitely wanting to have you come back on to share all the stuff that you're working on for sure.
Yes, we'd love to. No, we'll reconvene in the future with
For
more fun
sure.
things.
For
But
sure.
thank you.
If you could hang out in the green room for just 1 second while I
Yeah,
close out the show. But
yeah.
again, I hope everybody enjoyed this as much as I did. And again, please make sure that you reach out to Kendall and connect with her. You definitely won't regret it for sure. Again, thank you again, Kendall, for being on the show. And everybody, please again help me thank my guest and friend, Kendall, for being
Hey,
on the
Chris,
show.
happy Saturday.
Hang out for just 1 second while I close out the show. Guys and gals, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have. Like I just said, Kendall's such a sweet person. And you know how like I said, you meet these people that they just have a fun personality and that you just immediately connect with. And Kendall was one of those. We connected on LinkedIn and started talking and had a call and just immediately knew that she had this personality, a fun personality that you just love to talk to. So again, can't thank her enough for being on the show. Can't thank you enough for always tuning in and supporting the show. as always. Like I said, we're working very hard to make this the best possible show that we can, and with guests like Kendall and all the other ones that we've had on, it's well on its way for being there, and we can't thank them enough for making the show a great show. Uh, and next week is going to be no exception for sure. So make sure that you tune in next week because we got another great guest lined up. Our friend Amal Samuel, artist and line producer. So we're looking forward to having her on the show and telling her journey and sharing with us as well. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Again, thank you all for giving me a little bit of your Saturday. As always, I thank you, thank you, thank you. And make sure that you have a great rest of the weekend and a productive week. And I will see you same bat time, same bat channel next week. Cheers, everybody.